Hello, beautiful human. I can't believe I'm saying this one. I'm Zach. That is Dan.
Nope.
And Billy Corgan is here, Smashing Pumpkins.
Woo!
What is going on?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, this is charity, brother.
Yeah, man. I'm in the Borg today with you.
Yeah.
You know the Borg, from Star Trek?
Yeah. I have like a slight. I'm not gonna lie. I am a Star Wars, Star Trek fan. Not light. I am what I need to be enough to get through social, cultural conversation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm more OG Star Trek. But full disclosure, there was a guy who was a fan of the band in the 90s when it was Star Trek Next Generation. There's an episode where the guy put Easter eggs about the band in the episode. So, like, at one point, they go to the planet Corgano.
Dude.
And you know how I found out about it? I was watching the episode. I did some deep dive on the episodes, and I was like, Corgano, that's a weird thing. And I looked up the episode, and it's acknowledged in the Wikipedia that it's about me. It's like some weird, I found my own Easter egg, so.
Well, in that moment, do you feel like, do you ever think like, oh, fuck, I penetrated culture? Like that is a very weird full circle moment where like something that you genuinely and deeply love is loving and respecting what you've built right back.
When we were on The Simpsons, like 95, somewhere around there, it's weird to me that all these years later, people still reference it. So you realize how important those things are, like, let's say, cultural touchstones.
Timeless.
Right? So you start to get like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I was on The Family Guy, but as like a joke and a meme, but I was still on The Family Guy, right? But then the other day in Australia, I met a nice young artist from a band, and she has to take a picture with me, right? Cool, I take a picture. But the caption on her Instagram was, "Here I am smiling politely," in reference to, so like, then it's like, I'm only like, you're taking a picture of me because I was on The Simpsons, or you're taking a picture with me? You know what I mean? Then you get into that other thing, like it's almost like a diss.
Yeah. Why do you like me? Or why do you appreciate me in that moment?
I'll tell you a story. I was doing an autograph signing somewhere like late 90s, and this kid kind of shuffles up after waiting in line for 3 hours. And he goes, did you know Kurt Cobain? And I go, yeah, I knew Kurt Cobain. He goes, can I shake your hand? Okay, I shake his hand. He goes, thank you. And he walks away. So he waited in line for 3 hours to meet me because I knew Kurt Cobain. That's a weird one, right? Like,
how do you even rationalize that in that moment?
I don't, because that's where you want to put a bullet in your head. You know what I mean? Because it's on some level it's so dehumanizing. Like I can't wrap my head around, hey, I only want to, like, it's like if your uncle was, I don't know, I'm trying to think, Humphrey Bogart. And I was a huge Bogart fan, which I am. And the only reason I wanted to talk to you today was because he was your uncle, or like, that's so like, is that it?
No,
like,
yeah. Is that why you like me? Is that the only reason? Yeah, you only see me for that. But
yeah, it's no different than objectifying a woman because she has a nice shape or something. It's on a level, it's a compliment, but the flip side of it is like, hello, there's a person in here.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if it's refreshing to hear, but people are still like that today in a very real way to people who have even the tiniest bit of public notoriety constantly. Like they very much are. However, they don't know, because this thing desensitizes people. The screen makes everything different. The way you hold and handle a relationship and parasocial relationships and the way they actually manifest in real life from time to time is really wild. And there's going to be tons of studies on it. And I deal with it every day when I meet people. Every day. It's like it's like they see, I don't know, they see something differently.
I'll tell you, like there's moments in time where you realize things have changed, right? From when I started the band till when social media kind of started to get really big, like end of the 90s, people always would address me as Billy, can I say hi? Or Mr. Corgan, right? Somewhere in 1999, it was like somebody dropped a pin somewhere, and suddenly every person I met was like, yo, Bill. Like I was their friend now.
What do you think changed?
I think this thing created a sense, I know you. Because I just watched you post a meme where you're walking your dog or whatever, a video, you're walking your dog and you're telling me about your day, bro. Like, We're in this together. I like your stuff. Click. Everything before then was I had to buy something.
Yeah, it's a respect thing.
No, I had to buy something. The good part of a commercial exchange is I had to do something to get the bread, to go see your movie. Now, a lot of stuff is free. Not really, as we know. Somebody wants the analytics, which ain't no free.
Yeah, of course.
But it feels free. And so that creates a different thing. Like, well, I don't have to like your stuff anymore. Yeah, like that level of commitment. It's like, we're all on Tinder in the world. You know what I mean? Like we're all having a Tinder relationship.
So does this hurt or help the art you choose to create and the community you cultivate?
In the long term, it's helped.
Does it
in
help
the beginning, it was a negative.
Is one of the reasons why it helps because it ultimately, like, this type of lifestyle actually ends up creating more outcasts than ever before almost. And you do create a community of people who maybe feel like they don't belong.
Yes, but on the musical equation, our diversity has been a strength over time. It hurt us in the 90s and it hurt us at the beginning of social media because you didn't have one lane. Like, you're the goth band that wears blue makeup. You know what I mean? It was like, who are you? Now you see most people, they've realized that the real game in social media is you have to have some depth. If all you do is take ass pictures all day, that's all you're going to get is the people who like people who take ass pictures. People who really have game in this world, they have some depth to them. They got different side hustles. They're doing lots of different cool stuff. It could be charity over here. It can be I'm at Disneyland today, and tomorrow I'm recording with some other famous artist. That's more interesting.
Life.
Because that's the 24/7 of a real hustle.
Totally.
Right? You can pick any artist that's up there, like top pop people, but like, heck, even Robert Smith. There's 40 years there that you can poke through. Check out this picture. Here's them on this TV show. Here's this crazy thing he said. Here's the meme. So that depth is good now.
Do you, by the way, Autumn is the album. There's a link in the description below. We're going to talk all about it. Do you have very, very, very detailed archival records of everything you've done from at least a certain point?
Working on it, yeah. Because a lot of stuff that is valuable now had no value then. I wish we took so many more pictures. Like I have, like when point and click, like with the camera. I mean, we would go on a tour and we'd take 5 pictures. Hey, stand against the wall. That looks funny. Click. Where now you'd have like 800 of those. We only have 5. And there I am in 93 with the, whatever that was, right? So that's the shame of it. You don't have enough of that.
Okay. I have a lot to get into on this album. I want to know why another album, because you keep going. Is this number 12, right?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I think the last one was 11, and this is number 12.
I think it's the 12th album.
Yes. And it's, how many, is there 35 tracks on this album? 33, I'm so sorry.
And the box set has 40.
Holy
10 more. So the box set has 43 total songs, yeah.
So why were all of these songs? But also, how many songs were created to whittle it down to the 40?
About 80 plus.
And over how long of a period of time?
2 years.
How many songs were you doing like in a day?
It doesn't work like that because of the way I work. So I understand the question. We don't go in and just cut a track.
How do you operate?
I'll do a demo, kind of frame up what I think I'm doing. I might have a little bit of melody. I might not. Then we'll cut the drums. Then once I get the drums, then I start adding the music. And then after that, I might change something. And then, oh, wait, now it's a totally different version. Now it's a totally different BPM. Wait, it's in a different key. I got to chop the drums, do this other thing. So it goes on forever.
Are you starting with production? Or are you starting with lyrics? How does it really begin?
More of like a vibe. After all these years, it's more of a vibe.
Will you catch a, for lack of a better phrase, catch a vibe outside of a studio and then bring it with you, or only once you're in a studio?
Almost always right at home.
And like lyrically, how is that? Are stories coming from reality, or are they ripped from imagination?
I think that Frank Capra, who was the great director who did like It's a Wonderful Life, I don't know if you know those movies, but he captured a slice of Americana. He used to say that when you capture reality on film, you have to tell the actors to move at 130% of reality. That film actually has to be faster for it to feel like reality. So lyrics that are real don't necessarily sell. It has to be somewhere between a real thing and a fantastical thing. So in my mind, I'm playing a character or characters. So I have to write somewhere between the characters and something I really feel. But if I tell you what I really feel, it doesn't come across. It's hard to explain. It feels a bit like I'm staring into a mirror or something. Because if I want to communicate with you, and I don't know who you are, I never met you, and you might even speak a different language, I have to find some languaging that connects with you that you go, I know what he's talking about, but it makes me think of the person that I love or my mom or something. There's something in there. I don't know how to explain it other than some kind of weird magic thing happens.
Do you channel these characters, and are the characters different from album to album, or is there?
Yes. I've been doing a lot of conceptual work through the years. This is particularly conceptual, but even other stuff is conceptual. Yeah, channel is a good word for it because. There's the classic thing like, where do your songs come from? I don't know, man. The light speaks to me and,
higher power.
It's a little more complicated than that. I think you feel stuff that you, I assume most people don't feel that intently. When I was a kid, everyone was telling me like, man, you're way too emotional. Man, you're way too dramatic. And I was like, but this is how I feel. It's like somebody's saying to turn it down internally. And it's like, I experienced life very vividly, color and sound. Like I started listening to music hardcore when I was 5 years old. And I mean, it was like it really affected me.
What do you see when you listen to music?
I tend to think in terms of color. People have synesthesia, if you know what that is.
Of course, yeah.
Often ask me if I have that because to them, my music is very vivid to them on a color scheme. But I tend to think in terms of color. So I don't think I have synesthesia, but, that's why I say it's more of a vibe. It's like a tone.
With Autumn, is there one tone that follows through every track?
No. It's honestly, to the spirit of your question, it's trying to balance between past, present, and future. It's hard to do, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I do, and it's what I got from listening was that you have the right ability to be ahead while also being present. In the sonics and in the lyrics, it's wild. Like
cool. I appreciate that. But that's what I'm saying. That's trying to capture past, present, and future.
Are you doing that in every song?
Trying to. Doesn't mean I do it, but that's what I'm trying to do.
And do you do that to keep old pumpkins with you while acquiring new?
No, the particular artistic and narrative contrivance of this work allowed me to go back and use old pumpkin forms of music and bring them forward, but not in a way that felt like I had to pander to an audience that's been asking to make that album for 30 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
It's like if you go see Spider-Man 13 and they kind of do callbacks, but in a now way. It's like a meta riff on the past, but it's like a mashup or something. You know what I mean? That's how it works in my brain.
Would you partially credit that to why you have stayed so relevant on alternative radio and within the alternative format?
That's a great question, and I don't know, because for years we would hand in an album, or I would hand an album, and whoever was running K-Rock would go, sounds old. Okay, so then I hand in the next album, and they go, it doesn't sound like classic SP, bro. And you'd be like, well, what the you want from me?
By the way, I know the guy you're talking about. Like I can see the guy.
I love him. I love him dearly. We've had our battles, but he's my friend again. But there's something there, right? So let's examine it without sort of fear or judgment. Okay. What makes somebody that programs a radio station go? Because at the end of the day, they want something that feels right now. But what registers in their brain is right now when you're dealing with a classic band?
And you're dealing with an audience on a radio station that is been there forever while still trying to bring in new, right? So you're bringing in youth while keeping those who have been there since you guys were first releasing music happy, right? Like that's
Have balance. You ever met somebody that as you meet them, you can tell that one of your friends has told them what you're like?
Yeah.
So they don't have a chance to get to know you. And then, like, once they get to know you, go, oh, I'm so glad you're cool because my friend said you were a jerk. But you can feel that vibe. That's kind of what it's like when you make new music after so many years. It's like you feel like you walk in a room and all these people have opinions that you have no control over. And then your music has to somehow navigate their opinion, which, by the way, with the Pumpkins is usually not accurate.
Yeah.
If you look at the most successful music we made in the 90s, half of it was not loud alternative guitar rock. We had strings, we had electronic music, but in their minds, it's just a big buzzing guitar sound and my voice like sounding like it's nails on a chalkboard or something, right? That's the sound in their brain. So when the guy goes, well, you know, it doesn't sound like classic SP, that's basically what they're saying.
Is it fair to say that having such an established discography and such a deep history and of success is a curse as much as it is a blessing when it comes to releasing new music?
No, I'd rather have it, trust me.
Yeah, why? I pays the bills.
Because you've done something right.
Well, you've done a lot right.
No, but I'm saying, you've at least, here's the way it works in my brain. Let's not talk about somebody else for a second. I did things in my life that everybody around me told me was a bad idea, and I was successful. So you're never again going to tell me I'm wrong, even when I'm wrong.
How good does that feel?
Feels good.
Is that a little scary?
No, it's cool. Listen, there's that old saying, you know, you want to die, you know, you want to die on your feet or die on your knees, right? I'm a guy who wants to die on his feet. If I'm going down with this, whatever this is. You know what I mean? Like weird voice, crooked teeth, bad attitude. You know what I mean? I'm good with that. It's worked. Like a lot of times people's like, oh man, you're too intense, you're too crazy, you're too sad. And it's like, no, it's worked out just fine.
Yeah.
I live in a nice big house, got a beautiful family, life is good. I'm not here to tell you. It's not, I'm saying it's for everybody, but it worked for me.
But it's also just who you are.
Well, that's a good point. I don't think it is who I am. It's what life turned me into.
That's such a fascinating conversation. But isn't that nature versus nurture to a certain degree? Where you start is not where you end. And we are just, as we go through life, we're just kind of a collection of everything. No?
Well, none of us grows up in a test tube.
Yeah.
But when you're in my situation, I was tested quite early on as being gifted academically, right? I was tested quite early on at being gifted in music. Did I get any support from my family? No. Did they treat me like an idiot? Yes. Did they treat me like I would never amount to anything? So that does something to you. Okay. So when you go into the world and now you're dealing with the bearded guy from Brooklyn who thinks he knows music better than you do because he's a critic and he's never made a song in his life, much less a hit song, and he wants to tell you how to play your riffs, bro. You know what I'm saying? You don't come in like, gee, Willikers, I'm so happy to be in the music business. You look at the guy and say, get the hell out of my way.
No, you're right. But you were conditioned and built to.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
It turns you into something, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing.
Do you think that's a blessing that it's actually followed you, where everybody has told you that you are wrong, yet you defy them every time? Like there is some guidance in that. Like if somebody tells you you're wrong, you just do what you want to do. Like does that make any sense?
It's more of a plus than a minus, but the minuses aren't great.
What's the worst thing? What's the worst minus on the list?
Look, you know, a great Major League Baseball hitter is 3 out of 10 times. A great songwriter is gonna miss. It's just, I've written 500 songs. They're not all great. You know what I mean?
So how do you decipher through the 80 to get the 40 something that we're getting?
It's just an instinct.
How many great songs do you think you've written over the years?
That's a good question. You want an honest answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've written more great ones than most. Let's put it that way. If you took 100 songs from somebody and 100 songs from somebody, I'm pretty confident I'm going to have more great ones than they are. Because most people don't write the way that I do. And what I mean by that is most people try to write hit songs. So they either write a hit song or they write a crap song that sounds like it's trying to be a hit song. I don't work that way. I just try to write great songs. And then somebody comes along that's smarter than me and says, this one, this one, this one, this one. And those tends to be the ones that are classics.
So you really do trust a set of ears to go through and determine?
If I'm putting it out, I think it has something. And I'll give you a perfect example. A song that was on Melancholy, We Only Come Out at Night. I bought a zither, if you know what a zither is. Auto harp.
Okay.
You know, we had them when we were kids. You know, you press the button and you go zing, zing, zing.
Okay.
So I bought one, you know. I got some money. I bought an auto harp. I brought it in. The band laughs at me. What? Auto harp? What are you going to do with that? I wrote the song that night, and I came in the next day, and we recorded this song called We Only Come Out at Night. It's on Melancholy, successful album. Wasn't a hit song. Didn't make any playlists. Fast forward, 20 years later, Apple putting out a new iPhone or something, they picked that song to be in a commercial. So we get a massive check, and there it is to a generation of young people like yourselves, we only come out. And I'm like laughing my ass off because it all goes back to the auto harp. The band thought I was stupid. No one ever told me the song was great.
But you knew.
I'm not saying it was great. I just tried to write a really good song.
So do you write songs for you or for other people?
80-20 me, 20 them. Because you have to. It's not, look, I'm here to talk to you today. Yeah. I could just go off and talk about what I want to talk about. It'd be unfair to you. It'd be unfair to your audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
But I'm also here to talk about what I want to talk about. So the proper balance and the proper respectful conversation is to find that. So it's the same thing with writing a song. If I want a song to go on for 20 minutes, there's still a voice in my head to go, do you really need 20 minutes? Can 13 will do? It's fine. I don't see it as a bad thing. There's the contrivance of a performer. There's a point where a show is too long. A song is too long or too self-reflective. So it doesn't hurt to wonder if somebody is standing behind the glass. It'd be interesting, like back in the day when we would rehearse, we almost never had anyone come to rehearsal. It's just the way we were. We didn't have people hanging out, drinking beer. We just weren't that band. Everybody else we knew had that. We never had that. It was always just the four of us in a room.
Was that intentional?
It's just the kind of way the way we were. We were not very nice people.
But also, like, I could also say the flip side is being insular keeps you guys secure and actually put together.
Yeah, but also creates delusional states. But the point I was trying to, what I'm saying is, if you had been invited or a friend brought you and you came in that room circa 1997 or something, right? And the minute somebody stepped in the room, the band played different.
Yeah, it changes.
Just couldn't, even if nobody cared that who was in the room, just having one person in the room, it's just, things just changed. Now we're kind of subconsciously performing, or we're aware of that person's. We've all had that thing where we think we're doing something interesting and we look and somebody's on their phone, right? Okay?
Yeah, but doing that in front of an artist is the worst possible thing to do.
I looked up we did a thing last night, and I looked up in the stands, and there's one of my managers chatting away in somebody's ear.
Oh, fuck.
And he saw me looking at him, and I went, like, I see you talking, right? And I think he's in this room right there. He is right there.
No,
if you can get him on camera.
There is, like, what do you attribute the long-term unity of the band to? Have you figured that out?
There is no long-term unity.
No.
If you have a question, I don't want to cut off your question.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Oh.
We figured out, and I'm going to try to be simple because there's a more complicated version, but the simple version is somehow we figured out circa 1989 that what we had created together, or my vision for the band, was bigger than all of us as individuals, and include myself in that.
It gave me goosebumps. But that's so, like, you have to park your fucking ego at the door, and not everyone can do that, and that's really special.
Thank you. So once you figure out that this thing called the Smashing Pumpkins, we all work for that thing, and by the way, no one can define what that is. Yeah. Simply put, it would be, we're never going to be better than all our heroes. So all we can do is collapse atoms together that don't belong together. UK shoegaze with heavy metal riffs with sad acoustic music and see what happens. And somehow in that willingness to do stuff that people told us over and over again, don't do, wrong. We found energy that you didn't know existed. It would be like going in the forest and digging until you found something under the ground. We'd dig and dig and dig, and we'd find, like, what is this mandrake root? Let's make it glam. And people would go, oh, what is this? And we'd get horrible reviews, and then boom, we're on K-Rock. Rock Revolution. You're like, yeah, Rock Revolution. Try the 500 ideas that nobody would like,
Is there have you changed, or what's the biggest change you've made to your process since beginning to now?
Well, in the beginning, I came from a very abusive home, and nobody gave me any money. I mean, I was basically thrown out in the street and like, good luck. So my first foray into the music business was like, I have to survive. So it was very predicated on how do I game the system. Back then, it was radio, MTV, and the jerk writer at the cool paper. Those were your three forces you had to navigate. And I could bore you with details if you want about how we game those systems, but we figured out how to work in that system and be both contrarian but somehow work within it. And people used to ask me about that because most of alternative music circa early 90s was, the world of pop was like a castle and everybody looked really beautiful and glittering in it, and everyone out there would throw stones at it, in essence, it's like, we're not in the castle, to hell with them, throw stones, right? Very much a typical punk rock contrarian point of view. We were like, no, we're going to actually go in the castle and blow it up from within. And we did. We gamed the system. I mean, people were like, how the hell did you guys get here? And we're like, ding, 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 we figured it out. It's like, when you figure out how to game Pac-Man or something.
So is it a strategy on the side of the art or a strategy on how you take that art and get it in front of the right people?
You have to have a faith that you will hold your line like a race car driver through a turn. You will hold your line even when you fall into the temptation of the big thing.
What are your guardrails, or what is like?
Hard to tell you.
Because it's within?
I'll give you a simple example. SNL wants to book your band. Saturday Night Live. Great. 2 songs. Great. They want you to play an old song. They want you to play a new song and an old song from the 90s. You go, nope, not doing it. Okay, Saturday Night Live won't book you. You go, okay, well, I guess we're not playing Saturday Night Live. That's the difference. Somebody sits in the room and goes, are you crazy? You're going to be on TV in front of 8 million people. Who cares if you play an old song? I go, I do. Because the line I'm holding ain't about that right now. It might be about that some other time, but right now it ain't about that. So when you go to ground in a truly contrarian way, everybody around you will tell you you're insane. I mean, there were articles written in the mid 2000s. Career suicide. What's he doing? Quits. I had fans online wishing me to die so that I wouldn't write any more songs they didn't like. You got to hold your line. You understand? So now everybody's like, oh, everything's cool. You got it figured out. Like, no, I don't have anything figured out. I'm still on that line. And there'll come another point, it might be 5 years or 5 months from now, where somebody's going to sit there and say, why are you doing this?
But do they think you're figuring it out because this album has success and the singles are popping? And by the way, they're fucking great.
Thank you.
They're really good. Like, again, to your point, like, you've done what so many artists sit on our couch and talk about trying to do, which is the right amount of what somebody knows and loves you for while having the right amount of new and continuing to evolve. It is such a struggle to the point where like artists get paralyzed to a point where they don't want to put out music because it is frightening.
Here's how I eventually worked it out in my brain. I'm not a big fan right now of the Star Wars franchise. I don't mind Mandalorian, but like the movies are terrible and make me want to kill myself. Okay. I'm an old school Star Wars. I'm back to the Star Trek, yes. Star Wars. Sorry, I apologize. I'm dating myself. Star Wars was a big deal when I was a kid. So, holding the analogy, however poor, if I go see a big Star Wars movie, I want to get the crack hit of Star Wars. I'm not there to see another franchise. So eventually I figured out, like, okay, what does the franchise of Smashing Pumpkins on a resonant, energetic level represent? Can you make that movie consistently without getting caught up into, like, do I have to make this movie? And the other choice is, if you don't want to make the movie, don't make the movie. Hence me doing an acoustic record with Rick Rubin and making electronic music that nobody likes. I always have that option. I'm independently wealthy. I can do whatever I want to do. So, but you know, when you walk in the big Hollywood studio and you're going to make Spider-Man 17 or Harry Potter 47 or whatever, them's the rules. So once I kind of worked it out, then I went back to the old, I'm going to game the system. I'm going to get inside the castle and I'm going to blow it up one more time. So I'm currently on that mission. Is working, sort of.
But what's fueling the mission? Boredom?
It's a revenge play. It's a total revenge play.
It's awesome.
I admit to it flat out.
Yeah, respect. I mean, so Not many people would come on like ever admit to that. That's
I'm here to testify.
no. But and also like you can make genuine art while still seeking some sort of revenge. Like the two can work out together.
My argument would be the greatest art somehow balances the public's interest with something of high artistic value.
Yeah.
So the greatest artists of the 20th century, which is the century I was born in, whether you're Picasso or Bob Dylan, they found that line and they were able to hold it for a while. Not always, but when they did, it's Mr. Tambourine or Ganesha or whatever that work is of Picasso's that hangs in Spain. That's the anti-war one. It's like 40 feet wide. It's amazing. I've seen it. Yes, you can make art for nobody and live in your basement forever and tell yourself how great you are, but the experience and interchange with people like yourself is really interesting. There's no shame in that. Music for thousands of years was strictly functional. Hey, we're going to have a wedding. You want to come play the wedding? Da, 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 da. It wasn't, and they'd put the hat out at the end. Hey, if you like, buy us some dinner. Only in the 20th century did it become this machine. It's counterintuitive to what music's about. Music is supposed to make you dance. Music is supposed to make you feel. There's nothing wrong with getting the right song that makes somebody really, really feel something and really, really dance.
Is there any part of you that's surprised that you still have the ability to genuinely create art that connects with the consciousness of multi-generations?
Not really deep down. I mean, culturally, sometimes, I'm going to refer to obliquely to your generation. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing. I see the Crocs and the vaping, and I'm like, what is going on, right? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I wear. Well, I'm not wearing Crocs today, but I'm wearing Birkenstock Boston clogs, and I definitely vape. Yeah.
Okay, God bless.
Well, cannabis vape.
But on a deeper level, if you look back, I mean, you can go in the Bible, you can go in the Bhagavad Gita, you find that the human condition is pretty simple.
Forever.
I want to be loved. I want to get laid. I want to have a good time. If I can get paid, even better. You know what I'm saying? That never changes. So you just have to kind of remind yourself that, yes, look past the vaping and look past the bad footwear. Deep down is a person who still wants to be loved and wants to figure it out. Now, your generation is dealing with a set of complications that are probably more complex than any generation that I've ever seen, including my own. You guys are into some stuff, AI, corporate, everything. You don't have a private moment without somebody scanning what you're doing.
It's crazy.
You know, you're going to probably need a QR code to get laid pretty soon.
I mean, honestly, that would help me a lot.
Jesus.
I'll take it where I can get it.
How do you feel about AI in the future of music?
Well, my general thought is that AI will change music forever, because once a young artist figures out that they can use AI to game the system and write them a better song, they're not going to spend 10,000 hours in a basement like I did. They're just not.
But do you still have the ability to get real art that way?
Well, ultimately, art is about discernment, right? So, like somebody was telling me the other day about how a famous rap artist would work. They would bring in all these different people, and they would sort of pick the beat that they were most attracted to. Okay, now let's change it to AI. Hey, AI, give me 50 beats. Listen, I'm not really feeling. AI, give me 50 beats from the 50 most famous rap songs of all time. Okay? Well, I like number 37. That inspires me. Are they ripping it off? Not really, because I did the same thing. I just did it analog.
Yeah.
I listened to 10,000 songs, and I was like, that beat. So what's the difference? So it really will be about those who can discern, even if it's AI presenting them with choices. I call it binary choice, A, B, right? A, B. I do the same thing. Sometimes when I work on a song, I'll do like the Calypso version of the song or the heavy metal version of the song. And I'll go, I like the Calypso version better. And I just go down that rabbit hole. So I think that the next generation artists will do the same. The problem with it is if you're an organic artist like I am, it's going to be really hard to compete with a whole bunch of people who don't know how to write songs but have good discernment, can't sing but have auto-tune. So you think there's a lot of bad music coming out now. You just wait.
Crazy.
Because everybody's going to be doing it. Why? Because it'd be good for their social media. They won't even give a rat's ass about music.
Yeah, it's just another potential way
It'll
to generate
become the
money.
new version of an ass shot. Hey, check out my new track.
But then also what that does is diluting, well, and this is like a little bit of the royalty mine coming into play. Like the more songs that are on a platform like Spotify, for instance, that actually drives down the cost per stream, right? Like that's why they were using AI to generate songs to begin with. There was a huge story a couple of years ago, and they still exist, where Spotify was creating tens of thousands of songs at a clip, just populating it on the system, because ultimately it's one versus the whole library.
Whether Spotify bought this company or is in business with this company, they're in business with an AI company that's generating music so they can populate playlists with songs that Spotify owns so they don't have to pay royalties.
How crazy is
so
that?
like if people have like music to work out to, if 3 of the 10 songs can be Spotify owned AI generated,
Sick.
that's a good math for them. Yeah, I don't know. I still believe that put it this way, young people are so connected to culture because it's what they know. They haven't yet figured out all the other stuff where it gets complicated in a different way. I still have faith that young people will be able to sort through. So even if it's somebody who's a complete contrivance, at least they'll go, well, that's the right one. If somebody's just a complete fabrication, they'll still pick the best fabricator. You understand?
Yeah, they have to have some sort of talent to pick the best.
Yeah. It's all. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but yes, from an organic point of view, it's over. I mean, it is over. I was talking with AI with my partner, who's 26 years younger than me. He's 30 years old. She grew up in that whatever that generation is, but her whole life has been the internet, right? I said to her something about AI. She goes, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, I was kind of giving some doom-laden comment about AI. She goes, "I'm already using AI every day."
To do what?
Write her emails, write press releases for our tea house.
Wait, what?
I had no idea. Because she's a little ADD and has some dyslexia. So for her, words aren't. She always says, "You're so good with words. I wish I could talk like you." You know what I mean? So for her, it's great. Because it's not like she's lacking the idea. She just doesn't necessarily have the ability to articulate it in quick real time, right?
See, in ways, it's going to change the world for the better, but also in ways it's going to ruin it if you don't regulate it. Because ultimately, a lot of people are going to be out of work, and then if you don't transition them properly, we're going to look at a whole different universe.
I think most people, to your point, I think most people don't really yet understand how much things are going to change.
Oh, it's frightening.
10 years from now,
it makes me sick, kind of, to be honest. Just
okay.
because I think
that's a reasonable nausea.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance. The one thing I don't ever see is people being forced out of jobs and not given an opportunity to transition into new ones. And I think ultimately, what we're going to find is a lot of people are going to be without jobs, and a lot of places throughout America have generational ties to certain trades, and if they're not treated properly, it's going to be pretty gnarly.
Please indulge me and let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel our federal government is on top of that?
No, not at all.
Not even close.
They're
not even close.
No.
See, sorry to be a little conspiratorial today. When you hear people floating out what they call UBI,
universal basic income, of course.
You know why they started floating that out? Because they know they don't have a plan, and they need to get a bunch of people to stay home and smoke weed and play video games because they don't want them in the street rioting because they don't have jobs.
Yeah, so what do you do? And by the way, I also...
You give them AI music and a vape pen and say, good luck, and here's the new,
we'll send you $1,000
Mortal Kombat 93.
Yeah.
Enjoy,
I hope that with UBI, there's the ability to transition people through workplace replacement programs, so people can.
You got a good heart, but I have no faith in what you're talking about.
I know, we saw this right during COVID, and then obviously with everything going on with all the protests, and those protests turning violent. And this is before we got purchased by Amazon. We had I don't want to brag, but we had like a really pretty popular radio show amongst the most varietized communities across North America, 90 different cities. We had 2 million listeners a night. We were really popular, and very like red states, blue states, but a lot of red. The big thing that the stance I took was an understanding, because if you don't have a job and you're out of job and you don't have money, and also, people are being shot in the streets and they can't even exist safely doing the most basic things in our day, what do you have? Right? So if you take away somebody's job and you take away their purpose and their livelihood, then why do you wake up the next morning? It can't be to smoke weed and play the next video game. I mean, people want that in theory. That's what you dream of.
Okay. If you want to game that, right? Let's say you're on the side of, let's say that somebody in office in Washington, D.C. right now actually cares about what you think about, but they know how the federal government works.
Maxwell Alejandro Frost, we're talking to you. He's amazing.
Okay. What you want to do is you want to change people's concept of time. And that's where the vape pen and the video game come in. Okay. If you, like we talked about, I wish I had more pictures of the band back in the day. Yeah. I wish we took 500 instead of 5 on some trip we were on. I had no concept in 1992 how valuable that year of my life would be. We're still talking about it. I had no concept of that. So if you can convince people that the most prime years of their life, their youth, which if you look at all art, it's very youth focused, not just because of commerce. It's focused because it's probably the most intense time of your life.
100%.
You're trying to put together the pieces. Who am I? Where am I going? Right? If somebody can change your concept of your value in that time, they got you exactly there where they want you. Because instead of spending that time on figuring out who you are and where you're going and who you're going to be and how you're going to contribute to the world, they got you in a room. And if you notice a lot of new apartments, it's a white cube, and maybe you have a little piece of mid-modern, art in the corner, and you got your laptop. I'm good. I got the vape pen. I could play video games.
It's giving utopia. It's giving the giver.
That's where you got to watch that stuff, because it's a false form of promise.
I agree with that. I don't believe I think UBI in theory is a good thing, but in practice it really can change the world for the worse. But I do believe that we have a problem in this country where talent is equally distributed and opportunity isn't, and so much greatness lays dormant in people everywhere, but because of their zip code, they don't have the opportunity to ever access it. And I am interested. Like, I mentioned Maxwell Alejandro Frost. He's the first ever Generation Z member of Congress. He represents a district in Florida. He's working on a music program right now. I was reading the proposal. It's giving CanCon a little bit. The Canadian music program that allows Canadians to, like, if you're a Canadian artist, you get a certain amount of playlist support, you get a certain amount of television support.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
are they going to try to do that in America?
I mean, the concept of supporting artists, whether it be from a school perspective or from a budding perspective, and making sure that there's actual opportunities and paths forward for real musicians, no matter where they are. An algorithm may not be gamed for everybody.
It blows my mind that here we are in the belly of the beast, right? This is where most content is made, music and film.
Propaganda was made, World War II propaganda was made on this lot by Ronald Reagan, literally to the left.
Well, also silent movies, right? This was the Max Sennett lot, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is we're in the belly of the beast. It blows my mind that the U.S. federal government, after understanding 100 plus years of American export of who we are as a people, our collective vision, our ability to produce high-level movies and music and television shows that the whole world watches, that we are not out creating programs that incentivize people from every community to come forward and lend their voice.
And create.
Because it's honestly been the greatest engine for America. I think I read the statistic once, like by 1915 or something, the silent film movie business at that point was the 4th biggest industry in America. So within 10 or 15 years, it was that dominant. And it's remained a dominant force both culturally and fiscally since that time. Do you see something from the federal government that tells you they take people like me seriously as artists?
No.
Or even reaching out to me and saying, hey, can you use your platform and can we use you as an instrument to go into these communities and help inspire people? Would you be willing to work? Nothing, zero.
Yeah, because we don't support the arts. We really do not take artists seriously. But ultimately, to your earlier point of being able to control the people, art and entertainment and what we create actually has the ability to, like, at least.
You might hit the nail on the head, because maybe they don't want to empower people like me. Too dangerous, you see.
And that's the tea. You got to listen to Autumn, by the way. It's fucking amazing. But also, like, give it a shot. Listen to all of it. You can listen to the box set. There's 43.
Well, if you can get through the 33 online, start there before you get the box set.
Do you put it out hoping that somebody's going to listen to all of it on numerous times, or do you know that it could be consumed in stages?
I built it so that it would be enjoyable either way.
Got it.
But part of that is understanding, like, if I walk up on the street on somebody and they stop me and they say, hey, I like these 3 tracks from Autumn, but I haven't gotten through the whole thing. I can't get weirded out about that. You understand?
Yeah.
I have to understand that the world we live in now is, if they're listening to 3 songs, I'm winning, right? The old model I grew up in was 3 songs out of 33, you're dead.
That's crazy.
Okay? So this world, any engagement is good, right? And you know that. It's like, just engage, right? We're having a conversation. Great. Just engage. It doesn't have to be so complicated. Let people find you. It actually works a lot better. But I grew up in a business where it was on me to get you to listen, you know what I'm saying? Which turns you into a whore.
Yeah. But now you just get to be yourself on things like this. And by the way,
I'm still a whore. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm just a different kind of whore. I'm an aging whore.
Aging whore who seeks revenge.
It's like the beginning of a movie. Yeah. Cue the stiletto heels on the pavement. Here he comes.
What do you think?
How does it make you feel when people come up to you like, "Hey, I love 1979"? And you're like, "Of course you do." And
I don't think about it like that. What's weird to me is, most people are pretty sweet, and if they say they like a song, or they got married to it, all good. What's always weird to me is it's almost always dudes. Okay, 97% of the time, this is the conversation. Yo, man, I really like 1979. Oh, thanks. Your other stuff, not so much. It's like, and I'll say, do I need to know that? And the guy, it's like a script. It's happened hundreds of times. And the guy gets offended now. Now he's offended because I've pushed back.
Well, because
okay, so let's repeat the conversation. Yo, I really like 1979. Awesome. And the other stuff, not so much. Do I need to know that? I just thought you'd want to know. Like, know what? You lost your virginity to the song? You think I care? Like, it's not my problem. You know what I mean? But it's almost always dudes. And the best I can figure, it's like some kind of weird alpha thing.
Yeah. What is that? But is it
like
weird?
We're the same, but I got you?
But he doesn't get you. Is it weird to think that people do share the most deepest, weirdest, unique life moments to records that were yours at one point and now belong to everybody?
I think it's cool. I'm cool with that.
It's pretty sick.
I think it's beautiful. I've heard it all. Like, I lost my virginity. My mom was dying and we played your song. I mean, the highest and lowest and weirdest, and I skied to your song. I got ready for the Olympics listening to your music, and I won a gold medal. I've heard it all. It's like, wow. I mean, wild.
Motivating.
When you get those things at the end of the year or whatever, and, Spotify comes to mind because they publish those numbers, and you go, like I think last year was like almost 30 million different people just on Spotify alone listened to the band. It's like, that's crazy. Like 30 million people. Like, just stop and think about it. That's a lot of life, a lot of opinion, a lot of variance.
A constant reminder that it's still bigger than all of you.
Yeah, it's cool. So I'm cool with it. It's just, do I need to know the guy doesn't like,
No.
after Gish, man, I'm out. It's like, dude, that's 30 years ago. Like, I can't help you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out.
But listen to Autumn. Okay, give this album a try. What are you thinking?
I've heard you mention this a couple times over the years, and you've kind of referenced it today. But do you like singing, and do you think you're a good singer?
I have a very strange relationship with my voice. It's all messed up from a cold right now. My father was a really good singer, and so whenever I would sing when I was a kid, everyone would tell me don't sing, right?
Yeah.
The reason I started becoming a singer was I was in a band before the Pumpkins, which was called the Marked, M-A-R-K-E-D, and the guy the bass player, it was a 3-piece, was a good singer, and I wrote this song. 18 years old, and I gave him the song, and he goes, "Oh, it's a good song," and I go, "Would you mind singing it?" And he goes, "F you, you sing your songs, I'll sing mine." So then I got mad. Okay, now I'm a singer. I didn't want to be a singer. I wanted to be Yngwie Malmsteen and just riff on guitars. So, and the minute I started singing in the band, people were pulling me aside and say, "I like your voice better than that guy's." Okay, so I got a little confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a letter in my attic from a record executive from a major label in 1990. This band will never sell records. I can't stand his voice. Whoa. If you read most reviews of the band, it starts with, I have no hair and the sound of my voice. It's like, the sound of my voice has always been like a thing. But as my father often pointed out to me, I don't care what music, I'm quoting him, I don't care what music you do. The minute you sing, it sounds like the Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's worked, but it's always been this weird thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I like your question because it challenges me to give you an answer, and I don't really have one. Like even today, I heard some tracks from ATUM, and I'm like, why am I singing like that? Like it strikes me as weird, and I'm the guy singing.
So what gives you the confidence to get in the studio and keep singing?
That's a great question. I don't really know. I honestly, I don't really know. It's sort of like there's something beautiful about when somebody is okay with who they are. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Like we've seen in the last few years, like body positivity. There's something beautiful about somebody say, you know what? I am who I am. Take it, leave it. There's something powerful about that. So, yeah.
Listen to Autumn. Hear his voice. I think it's fucking incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I do think that, like, to your dad's point, it is instantly the Pumpkins, and you saying that it's bigger than all of you, it's bigger than one person, like that is, like, you have a responsibility to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Think about it this way. I have a cassette. Before I ever met any members of the band, I had a cassette back when we used cassettes. Well, I think you guys still use cassettes, and I wrote on the spine, The Smashing Pumpkins. There was no band.
That's crazy.
There was no band and there were no songs. So before, I just had this idea, calling a band The Smashing Pumpkins. And I found people, and I would say, and everyone would say, it's a bad name, don't use it. And it's stuck. And we started off on this crazy journey. So somehow with me writing those 3 words on that cassette, it changed all our lives. For better, for worse, mostly better. But it's wild when you think about it, you know. And oftentimes I'm probably going to bury myself with you again. I'm a Disneyland weirdo. I'm one of those people, you know.
You're a Disney adult.
No, I'm not a Disney adult.
Wait, so I'm confused.
Those are fighting words.
Wait, then what
I'm
are
not
you?
one of those people.
Like, who are you? Who are
What's the
you?
difference? Where do we draw the line
I am
there?
a Disney adult, so you're burying.
I am not a Disney adult.
Okay, well, I am.
We'll hug after this. I love that Walt Disney at that point was huge movie studio. Everyone told him Snow White would be a disaster. It was one of the, I think at the time was the largest grossing movie of all time. So you know all this stuff
Yeah,
because
of
you're Disney.
course.
I love the fact that in the midst of all that, he's running this massive studio. He's like, I'm going to build a theme park. What did he do? He went to the Burbank. They picked a piece of land, and Burbank told him to get lost. So that's how he ended up in Anaheim. But I just love that he was like, I'm going to build a theme park. It's just so cool, right? I love that part of it.
But by the way, like, builds a theme park, but also goes on to build what that company and entity is and how they operate and the synergistic ties between all of it and how everything works together for each other and nothing is siloed. Everything streams as one.
Pretty brilliant.
It's incredible. I stumbled, like, when I was 10 years old, I was on a Disney cruise, and there was some random fucking executive there giving a presentation in the middle of the day on the Disney company to, like, old people who were, like, doing nothing on a cruise. And I stumbled in on it, and it was 2 hours, and I stayed for the whole thing, and it changed my life.
All right.
It's fucking incredible.
So
I'm
not saying the Smashing Pumpkins is Disneyland, but I created my own thing
in your own way
that has its own synergy, including the revenge plays. But unfortunately, it has to be driven by this crazy voice of mine.
I think it's a blessing, and I think
Thank you.
There would be no Smashing Pumpkins without that voice and without you.
True. You know, they used to say about Kurt Cobain, you know, the voice that launched a generation, and then my voice, they would say it's the voice that you go insane to, or you scratch nails on a chalkboard. So,
fuck, that's, you have to park that somewhere. I mean, you get the last laugh, no?
Well, when I turn into a Disney adult, you know what I mean? I fully turn over, and I'm the guy in the cosplay, you know, Haunted Mansion gimmick.
You're definitely like a Club...
standing in line for the Haunted Mansion for the 800th time. When I'm that guy,
no, you're like a Club 33 guy. I know your type of rich people. Like, you got the people with the plaid vest. You got that Club 33 membership.
Why do you think there's 33 songs on ATUM?
Stop it.
For real?
No. Listen to Autumn. There's a link in the description below. All of Smashing Pumpkins music is available on Amazon Music. You're fucking amazing.
Thanks.
Thanks for giving us time.
Thanks, you guys.